All right, guys. Our next one is Mr. Salazar. Now, this Salazar, to make it clear, because there's a lot of misconceptions, okay?
He's your son, right?
He's not my son. He's my little cousin. One thing about Stephen, and he's planning to share a little bit about his journey, is I personally get the privilege to share this. I can tell you that my last call of a night in the past would be from this guy. Stephen would call me 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. He would call me. He was my late call. And Stephen is one that has harnessed what's around him. He is, this guy, the journey he's been on in this last year is tremendous. I've seen Stephen be the ADD mindset, which he still is, don't get me wrong, but he's learned to harness a mindset and a journey he's been on this last year that I got to tell you, wows me, wows Troy. We've had the pleasure to watch him where he started, because it wasn't that long ago where I think you kind of just hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I'll let him share that journey, but I want you guys to pay attention to something. This guy's, the surroundings around him, I mean, he has a great wife, great kids, a great pops, but guys, what has surrounded his life and what he has every reason to say, I have excuses, I have distractions. Naturally, he's going to have distractions. By life, he has a lot of things that say it's okay to quit. This kid has just done incredible, and he's not my son. Okay. Brother,
Thanks,
it's all
Dave.
yours.
So basically picking up where Dave left off, I got started doing real estate in 2014. Had always wanted to get into real estate, but I'd never gotten into real estate just because I felt like it was outside of my capabilities. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. Whatever the talk that I was telling myself of why I couldn't do things. And I struggled for quite a few years. Met my wife in 2013. And I've got it on my arm, and I forget our anniversary every single year. It's crazy. But so when I started, it was kind of a difficult time because we were coming out of 2007, 2008, and but I wanted to actually make it. It was something that for years I had wanted to be able to provide for my family, something that I've never been able to do. I always struggled working on Christmas Eve, putting in cultured marble, working till 1 o'clock in the morning just to be able to try to support my family. And so got going, hit the ground running, and everything was awesome. And everything was great until 2020, 2021 hit, and where I felt like everybody was succeeding, I was failing, and I couldn't figure out the reason why. And I think going into what Dave and Troy were talking about is it became comfortable. I was okay not doing much effort and reaping the rewards of really not doing anything. So when 2020 and 21 hit, it was learning everything all over again. I saw everybody closing deals. Like all the clients that I was working with, I primarily work with first-time home buyers, and so they didn't have the money to compete. And reached out to Dave and Troy, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit. Like I don't know what's going on. I just can't figure it out. Troy and Dave brought me in and gave me some information, and I kind of got back to where, realizing what I was doing and just asking a lot of questions, coming from the space of a student, just trying to get whatever information that I could get from anybody to try to not reinvent the wheel, but reinvent myself, to use the things that other people were using that they've gotten success in doing. And so the last 2 years, I think it's been about 2 years, I've just really kind of honed in on what I'm good at, and that's the prospecting aspect of it. It's just something that I've always just from the beginning have done, and it's something that I had kind of moved away from. And talking to Troy about getting up at, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, it was like I can't see that happening. I don't get out of bed until 9 o'clock every single morning. But I was like, I'm willing to do anything. So started getting up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the mornings, 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes. If I ended up staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, it just didn't translate well in the mornings. And so I was just exhausted. My brain didn't work. And I know that by waking up early and doing the things that Troy's talking about, getting that stuff out of the way before every other real estate agent's actually up, you pretty much get your whole day done by 12. I used to call Dave in the evenings because I wasn't starting to work until I think 12 or 1 o'clock. And so it just doesn't compute well because there's a lot of things that I think as me as an agent, I was trying to get done during the day, and I was trying to find somewhere to take care of myself or to take care of the things that I knew I needed to do, the things that I wasn't able to do, because my day didn't coincide with what I needed to do. So one thing that has been really good for me, I think, in this process is just having a schedule and adhering to your guys' schedule. Going in and just planning it out, saying whatever it is that's important or whatever it is that works for you guys. For me, it's prospecting, having that set time that nobody can interfere with. And I've heard from Dave with a lot of people, I think Christina's one of them, that just doesn't let anything come in front of the prospecting time. And I get really grumpy. I've been grumpy the last, I think, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with my daughter. So my daughter just recently started working for me to help assist me with doing the small things. So the relationship with clients is one thing that I've struggled trying to figure out how to create that time amongst everything else. And I know that it's super important because since we've started to do it, I've had a lot more past clients that have come, and it kind of ties into what you were talking about as far as it may not be the clients that I'm reaching out to, but it's just past clients are just coming out of the woodwork, and it's just me doing the things every single day. I don't.
Say something real quick. So when I talked to Steven yesterday, he texted me and he says, "Hey, so when am I going to be presenting in Secret Sauce, right?" And I said, "Well, probably around 10:30." He says, "Well, you better have a place for me." I don't know if he said it this way. He said, "You better have a place for me that as soon as I'm done, I can go sit down in an office and start prospecting." So he's like, he's not staying for the rest of the deal, right? He's going to do his thing.
I would love to. I'm actually going up to Ogden to go meet with a client. So, but yes, I mean,
He's focused, though.
yeah, it's getting focused because I think where 20 and 21 had a lot of people is it just was flowing. Like just everybody was trying to buy and it became so easy that for me when I'm prospecting, I'm not prospecting to try to get somebody to go buy a home right now. I'm prospecting in it to create new friends, to create new relationships, and just staying in front of those people, staying in contact with those people. I'm not trying to get them to buy a home. I'm just trying to provide information to them. I'm trying to educate them to where if they buy now or buy 2 years from now, at least they can make a decision that actually works for them. So super important piece is to not look at people as numbers, to not look at people as the next deal, but look at these relationships. If you focus on the relationships, it really does eventually turn to business, and you keep those people, you keep your pipeline filled, they just start falling into place. And it's crazy how it happens, but it has really, it's prevented me from actually quitting and going back to doing construction in just the relationship aspect. And I feel more fulfilled in doing so. So how many people actually prospect in here? So a few of you. So when do you guys find that you guys are prospecting? Like what time of day?
8 to 8 mornings. I'd say probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
So this way I can wake them up.
So you don't. So is that really the reason why you just don't want to wake them up?
Yeah, I just want to catch them like in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Not so early, like they getting ready to go to work or they just started their jobs. Just in the afternoon when things get slow.
Yeah.
That's when I hit my clients.
Okay. So do you find that you're getting a hold of people? Have you tried moving it around to see if you get a hold of more people during any other time of day?
Well, yeah, like I also call in the evening sometimes.
Okay.
Like just giving an update. The so I call the spouses, you know, they stay at home, like stay at home moms and stuff in the morning, but my majority is in the afternoon.
Okay. So, what is kind of the general consensus of people as far as maybe some rebuttals or some objections that you guys are running across?
Well, the objections that I have, you know, from most of my clients are buyers. So it's like the interest rate is really high and this and that, and I'm not ready. Um, and also some people, they got into that comfort
Mm-hmm.
of like, hey, I'm just staying in this house, I'm renting, I don't have to worry about the bills and stuff. So like they've started this meeting is like, I just have to help them get out of their comfort zone
Yeah.
and plant that mentality into like buying a property. So
Okay. So, do you find that you're able to get a hold of more people or less people this right now with everything that's going on?
I would say less people because they're watching the news and stuff, and they're hearing from surrounding that the market is gonna crash.
Okay.
So that's there's some fear in people in the buyers' hearts that it's gonna crash and it's not a good time to buy. So
Okay.
and I have to explain to them what's going on in the market, why it's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
You know, so
Okay. We talked a little bit. Have you done anything different
Yeah, I've
since?
been focusing, after our call, I've been focusing more on just conversations instead
Okay.
of appointments. And the calls have been so much better. Like
Have
I'm
they?
getting less objections because we're not, it's not like this coming out like this. It's
Yeah.
more of a kind of a cohesive, like you're just working together. And
Yeah.
when you come from that mindset of, it's really a shift in your mindset of when when you're there to help them instead of just look for an appointment. They actually feel that.
Right.
And then they want to like open up and they'll actually tell you like what the real reason is.
Okay. How's your follow-up been?
It's been good. Like,
Okay.
I've actually had probably in the last 2 weeks, I would say most of my conversations have been good. In the follow-up, they've been following up back when I called them back again.
Okay.
So it's been just taking that difference of it, from what you said, and then I took a training with a lender came in one day and had a similar training, and it's like just seemed to be like the universe was saying, hey, just take your time. You don't need to rush through these, because I've been in the Mike Ferry mindset of you got to make 30 calls, you got to get through these calls, you got to book 3, 4, 5 appointments. Where whether I make 5 calls or whether I have 20 calls, it doesn't matter. It's the conversation.
Right. Awesome. How have you been, Christina?
A lot better, just educating them and showing them that I'm here for the journey, no matter what it takes, but I'm here to educate you so you're empowered to make the best decisions for you and your future, not me, not what the media says, for you.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really good.
Has the follow-up been good also?
Yeah, they're more open to answering my calls and know that I'm committed to them no matter what happens.
Awesome.
No matter what they're feeling, that I'm still there to guide them through the process.
Cool.
So we had a training class done for the last 2 weeks. We've had a small group. We wanted Stephen to share a little bit about what he's doing. And we have these recorded so you guys can hear him train. He's talking about not just his processes, but he also goes on live calls. It's really fun to watch Stephen. But there's something that stood out that I did share his training class with a couple of agents, and this is what I got. It was the same message. He does something that's different. His perspective on calling leads. He takes leads, and when he looks at a list, he's not trying to find. He's not calling a list saying, okay, I'm not reaching somebody, I can't find them, they won't talk to me. You know what he's doing? He's scrubbing his list. He scrubs it. He's scrubbing this list to get to the people who want to do business with them. It's such a big difference from people who call leads, who actually are, as we all know, those who call leads, oh, we get lost on, oh, they're not answering. Oh, they don't want to talk to me. He scrubs a list. He gets his list prepared. That's what he's doing so he can get down to business, and that's what he focuses on. So that first call, it's just scrubbing. It's not trying to kill it and find the buyer.
So this takes us into the calls that people are like, I've got to have the new leads. I've got to have leads that nobody's contacted before. And I would much rather have leads that I have tried to call before because I know that they're a good voicemail. I know that I've talked to them in the past. I know that they're not invalid numbers. And so what I'll do is I'll go through, like Dave said, and I'll just scrub them. And I'm not focusing on trying to nail it out of the park with every single phone call. So scrubbing just means that you're just going through your list and you're getting rid of the numbers that are invalid, the numbers that are wrong, those types of things. So that you're creating a list of numbers that you know are going somewhere, and you're actually saving yourself a lot more time, because that scrubbing portion takes you probably 3 times as long as just going through your call list once you've actually gotten rid of those numbers, if that makes sense. So you're getting through a lot more phone calls, but then you start to get a hold of people. The more times they see your phone number pop up, the more apt they're gonna be to answer, like, who is this person on the other line? And then I'm not going into the same conversation that every single agent's having. And I can probably guarantee if I went through the stream of how they're approaching, pretty much everybody's going through the same approach when it comes to prospecting. And that's, well, how do you start your phone calls?
I use dialers because then the emotion's removed.
Okay, so
There's no second guessing.
so let's role play for a minute. Let's say I'm the buyer or the lead. How would you, if I just answer the call, how would you start your call?
Hey John, how's things going?
Okay, awesome. Is everybody else doing that?
Now I am.
Now you
I
are.
wasn't doing it before the call.
So by approaching it that way, it's more familiar. By approaching it the way that every other telemarketer is doing it is, hey, is this so and so? Yeah, you were just on my website, blah 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 blah. Click. They're gonna hang up on you. It doesn't feel familiar to them. So if you approach it as you guys have already had a conversation, you guys have already built a rapport, they start talking to you. And then before too long, they're like, hey, wait, how do I know you? Like, yeah, we were talking, you were looking for a new home. They've registered for so many websites, they don't remember who they've talked to. And so they're gonna be more open to having a conversation with you guys. So try just changing up the way that you guys do things and focusing on the long game as far as the short game, because I feel like that's the biggest change from 2021 to now, is like everybody was just trying to buy houses the last 2 years. And it's not happening now.
Is like gold.
Yeah.
If you dial and dial again, it's double tap.
So, but I think Dave was gonna try to put together something. I don't know. On calls.
So guys, we have trained the training classes that Stephen has done for us. We have a new cloud, which we'll be sharing with you guys here in about 2 weeks, where all the training that you guys want that's on videos, you guys can go to it and you can keep going back to it. So there's a 101 and a 102 version of Stephen with his training. It's phenomenal. It really gets to the point. I don't think it's made for brand new people, brand new agents. It's for agents that are seasoned, that are ready to get moving, right? They want the concepts of how should my day look, how should my calls sound like, and what's the work ethic that's going to be needed in order to accomplish the same goals that he's getting right now. So those quick links will be available in about 2 weeks. So just so you're aware.
So,
Yes, sir.
yeah. I don't know what else you wanted me to share,
Hey,
what Trey wanted me to share.
Share with them a little bit about you get distracted so easy.
Mm-hmm.
I know my cousin really well. Look, see, his little girl is laughing because he does. All day. He gets so distracted. But again, this is a part of his environment. So share with us, how do you control that? How do you control and get what you're doing? You have a great excuse. You can't stay focused.
Yeah.
How do you stay focused? What's the secret? What do you do every day to make that happen?
So, my calendar, my Google Calendar is probably the most important thing. Having my assistant keep me focused. There's a lot of distractions at my house. There's a lot of stuff like Dave shared with you guys that have gone on this last year. And I got to the point, well, yeah, without going into detail. So I think Google Calendars is the big thing for me. Having a good CRM is another good thing for me. And just writing everything down. I do something similar to what Troy does at the end of every day. I'm like, okay, these are the clients that I have. This is what I need to get done. I could work myself till the next, 7 o'clock the next morning if I allowed myself to. I literally have to shut it off. But I think Google Calendars is a big thing, and then I utilize my task list. I may not have a specific time for those things, but I can go through and just mark them off as I'm going through. And getting myself away from the distractions as much as possible. The biggest thing for me is my phone, and the other biggest thing is my computer. So I have my assistant that's going through and basically going through all my emails, because that's like a black hole for me. I'll see this email and I'll go over here and I'll just start going down rabbit holes, and 3 hours later I'm like, where did my day go? But it's having something. So for me, I print out my calendar and I have it in front of me, and so I don't have to go into my computer and look at those things. So in the morning, my calendar's in front of me. I send out cards, so I've got my list of cards that I'm actually sending for that day, and then the people that I'm calling that day on a list. So I don't have to go into my computer.
Point that up, Steve. I wanted to point that out because we talked about, Troy pointed out holding yourself accountable and keeping track of your wins and losses.
Yeah.
Notice you've got yours.
So I've got basically just my call tracker. So I start a new one like every week. And it's basically just people that I'm talking to on Monday. I've got my list of things that I need to go through and make sure they're done every day. So I've got like face-to-faces, whether those are appointments, whatever that is. I've got my calls. I've got, the events that Troy's talking about doing, cards and things like that. So I've got those planned out for the week. So each day I've got basically the boxes that I get to fill up, and then I follow those. Then outside of that, as I'm prospecting, I've got what they call, I've got a lead tracker, so all the people that I've talked to, basically where those came from. And then, do you want to hold that for me?
So at the end of the day, you know if you've had a productive day or not.
Yeah. So I've got my call list right here, or all my task list right here. So it's really easy. I don't know if anybody uses Google Calendars, but basically just print out your things, go through and check them off, and then you know if you've gotten everything done. And then I've just got my calendar that I keep. I just started keeping a notebook that actually has my calendar. I go through and I actually just do my calendar in the front, so it's right in front of me. So.
And you don't compromise on your calendar.
No. Well, I don't. As far as I think the things that I compromise the most on my calendar is the time that I've got sections of the day that I allow myself to be open to distractions, so people can come in and talk to me, ask me questions, things like that. I feel like that's the main thing that I falter on. So I should be available to my assistant for her to ask me questions, but I feel like that's the time that I don't make available. But outside of that, yes. My schedule, especially my prospecting time, is stuff that I don't change. I don't allow myself to do any other time. Today I'm going to, just because I'm here, so I'm going to be prospecting this afternoon, but outside of that, it's typically 10 to 12, and then I'll prospect for sellers at 9. What's up?
So Brittany Blake is chatting and asking, what CRM do you use?
I use the CRM in Sync, and then I use a spreadsheet.
Do you prospect 7 days a week, or do you give yourself a day off or 2 days off?
So the way that my schedule is I work Monday, Tuesday. I've got Wednesday off at 12 so that I can spend the rest of that day with my family, because I know Saturdays and Sundays I'm usually working. So 12 o'clock is my non-negotiable. But yes, I do prospect 5 days a week. I don't prospect on Saturday or Sunday unless there's somebody that pops up in Commissions Inc. that looks like it should be immediate, whether that's Saturday and Sunday. I've almost started to want to work on Sunday because I know nobody else is calling on Sunday, but I haven't gotten myself to that point yet.
You'll do your follow-ups on the weekend.
No, I do my follow-ups on Thursdays. So my hot leads and past leads, I'll do those on Thursdays. Mondays, I'll do basically I've categorized my my clients into like my top clients, the ones that I'm engaged with actively. So I'll go through and I'll call, let's say, 15 of those people every single Monday. And then like Troy does is I'll do, you know, a letter a week for all my clients. Wednesdays is my follow-up days on all contracts and things like that. Biggest thing for me when I'm talking to clients, because this is one thing that I've struggled with for a long time, is to allow my schedule to be dictated by my clients. I can't do that because I feel like I don't get anything done. So if I basically tell them I do my follow-ups on Wednesdays, if you guys need me to follow up, or if you guys have questions, if you need it more often than that, let's do that. But typically Wednesdays are going to be the days that I'm following up with you to see if you guys need anything. So Wednesdays is really that day. And then Thursdays are my my leads, and then Fridays are just I'm starting to work with contractors and building those relationships and things like that. So
So on your education, sorry, and if I stepped out and you covered this, I apologize. But as you're talking to people, basically, you're not trying to convince them that now's the right time to buy. You're just answering questions.
right.
So when they're coming to you with all this negativity, do you acknowledge that and then pivot, or what do you do?
This is the biggest thing for me is I try to quiet what's going on around me. I try to stay off Facebook to see what to prevent myself from seeing what other agents are doing. And I think that's the biggest pitfall for a lot of people is when you hear everybody around you saying that things are awful or things are bad or there's this or there's that, it's easy for you to adopt that mindset. I try to stay as far away from interest rates as I possibly can. She needs to know interest rates because I've got specific clients that actually are looking for investment properties. And so they've got to know kind of what their monthly payment's going to be when they're trying to figure out, you know, their rent versus what their mortgage payment's going to be. But outside of that, I don't let myself know what interest rates are because it's really not my realm anyway. I shouldn't be talking about it. But I feel like for me, that's been the biggest thing because Brady tried talking to me, or they'll try to talk to me about what's going on in the market. I'm like, I don't want to know. Like, I would rather be naive and not know because then that doesn't enter the conversation. So I really don't usually have that coming into my space, if that makes sense. I noticed that what you focus on magnifies or what you focus on expands. I don't know how many people have actually bought a new car, never seen that car before, but now all of a sudden that car is everywhere. It's the same thing. If you're focusing on this negativity or this where the market is, it just starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I don't let myself know those things, if that makes sense. So
And I took a cue from Steven, so I had a call, when was that, 3-4 weeks ago?
yeah, I think so.
So I was just like, boy, I'm gonna spread some good news, was calling some agents. We had a good day in rates or something, and I called Steven, and he's like, yeah, I really don't wanna know. But it was an aha moment for me. And as lenders, everybody knows rates are bad. You don't need to be cheerleaders for the media and advertise the negativity. All that's important to a buyer right now is payment. Rates are at 8, rates are at 7. It doesn't matter
Right.
to them. They care about the payment. And so challenges are just opportunity for new solutions, and the solutions are out there.
Right.
Can you get a buy down? Can you get your payment so much cheaper the first year? That's what they want to know.
Right.
Focus on the payment, and it's amazing how many realtors I have. What are rates at today? What are rates at today?
Yeah.
That's not your job to know. Your job is to find buyers and us to get them the payment that they want and
Right.
not worry about the rates.
Exactly. So, but to answer your question, when those things get brought up, I usually put the question back in their court of like, well, what are interest rates today? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, like you ask them, what payment are you trying to get?
Yeah. Well, what I'll ask them is like, interest rates are too high. Like, well, what are interest rates? I don't know. And then you start talking to them about their questions. So you basically re-ask them their question. Like, well, I don't know this information. I've just heard people talking and saying interest rates. Yeah. So interest rates are just too high. And it's like, well, what's important to you? Payment, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, let's focus on payment. What payment works for you? And they're like, well, I don't want to spend that kind of money because, I'd rather rent. And I'm like, well, how much are you paying in rent? And they'll tell me what they're paying in rent. And it's like, well, that's what you're paying in rent, but you're paying 100% interest versus 8% interest. And somebody else is earning your...
What's the interest rate on rent?
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
It's 100%. So it's...
What happens if somebody says, hey, I'm paying $1,500 a
Yeah.
You're talking about selling them a place, first time home buyer, because that's who you primarily work with. Let's call it 5% down, and they're looking at with Brady a $3,000 mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So $1,500 a month is 100% interest. But if they're paying $2,800 a month towards a mortgage, yeah, that's not 100% interest, but that's 2x
Right.
what the $1,500 a month rent payment is. So to them, they're like, I'll take $1,500 a month.
200 or the 2-1 and 3-2-1 buy down. Like it's 2-1. The 2-1 buy down, you're gonna save anywhere from $600 to $800 a month, which gets them in the same ballpark, right? So somebody's making money on their money.
But that's still more than the 100% interest.
No, it is, and in fact, I should have brought one. We have a great rent versus buy calculator, and it works both ways. Cause I've got someone that's shopping for an $800,000 house right now, but they have a $1,500 rent payment. And they're just like, we're gonna wait for the market, we're gonna wait for the market to
If-
drop. And we ran the calculations, and it shows if the homes appreciate over the next 10 years, the appreciation gain that they will get, even if rates don't come down in the next 2 years, they are still making more money than they're saving by that $1,500 rent payment. So long term, you're never gonna build wealth renting, and it's either they're gonna accept that or they're not.
And here's the other thing that I see a lot of people doing right now is renting out rooms. Like renting out rooms because it helps subsidize the amount of money that they're paying out monthly. That makes more sense to them because they're getting the price of the home right now, renting out those rooms, and then getting rid of renters as the rates come down. Like I am surprised how many people, as soon as you mention that to them, that they're like, oh, like a light comes on. They're like, that makes sense. The other thing too is on average, for every 2% that you come down, what's the appreciation rate? Would you figure?
Way to put, you're asking me to do math?
So it's suspected that if it comes down, this is just what I heard somebody else say is if you come down 2%, you're going to appreciate 10%, right? So over the course of a year, that's going to cost you about $86,000 by waiting versus buying now and figuring out a way by doing the 2-1 or 3-2-1 buy down and getting renters in that it makes more sense to them. Because that's pretty much the biggest thing of why people aren't buying right now, but they have no idea. They don't know how to figure it out. They just hear the media, they hear everything talking about it. The other thing that I find very useful is the education aspect of it. If you can educate and teach them these things, like that people will stay attached to you because there's no other. A lot of agents are actually out there trying to get a home run on every single person they're talking to instead of what they should be focusing on and educating so that people can make a decision that works for them.
I have just kind of a question. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So, you know, we talk about building such strong relationships with our clients. This probably goes back to Troy too. Is here we're saying, oh, we're the experts. We're going to teach you about the 3-2-1 buy down. We're going to do all these rate buy downs. What happens if the rate? It's almost a ticking time bomb. Because I have clients right now last year that I said, let's do a rate buy down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because now I've said, oh, you're going to be able to get into this house. You can afford it because the rates are going to go down. What happens if these rates don't go down and it's 2 or 3 years from now and now they hate us because we've done it?
Steven, can I jump in?
Yeah.
Please, I was just gonna say, I'm
Yeah,
not
this
quite
is a
as
huge
No, it
thing
is.
where I'm trying
That's
to
why
write my
we just
nails
need to be
going,
honest. We need to be honest with our clients, okay? No one's, my crystal ball's broken.
yeah.
We have what all of our advisors are telling us, and everyone, and you're gonna hear it from probably the most educated person in the state today at one. But we need to hedge both ways, okay? There's a chance World War III could break out, rates could continue to climb from here. The good thing about the temporary buy downs is that they're still locking in now. It's a 30-year fixed rate with subsidized payments. So this is your risk. Yes, we're gonna get you lower payments for the first 1, 2, or 3 years. Okay, the hope is we're gonna hedge that rates come down and you're gonna have an opportunity to refinance. Devil's advocate, as you said, okay, fiduciary duty. That might not happen, but we are locking you in now while it is low in case they go up. You're covered both ways. You need to be able to plan on, that's why we qualify them at that highest rate. So if the rate's at 8% and on a 2-1, the rate's at 6 the first year, we don't qualify them at 6, they're qualified at 8 because we need to know that they can afford that when it fully indexes.
Okay, so like in 3 years, they're still at 8%.
Yes,
even
it's
if
not gonna
rate is
budge.
16.
They don't have to refi, so if rates are at 10 in 3
Okay.
years,
Okay,
They
so
got
they
in at
can
8.
still afford, so they need to be able to afford it at that 8%.
And as a-
Now,
believe
they're
me,
just lucky that they
As
got it at
lenders,
6.
yeah, we don't wanna make them foreclose.
Yeah,
So they're affording the payment now,
yeah,
so.
okay,
I think one thing to keep in mind too is just, it's that communication thing,
Yeah.
right? You're not forcing them to do anything.
Right.
And I always say, I always talk worst case scenarios to my clients.
Yeah.
When we're saying, okay, we're gonna write an offer, okay, it's at 8%, this is your payment, what if rates don't go down? You guys gonna be okay in a couple years? You know, if they're having issues with it, then they gotta figure it out. Like, I
Yeah.
can't force them to or not.
right,
But I make
Yeah.
it real clear to them, there is a chance that rates aren't gonna come down. You're gonna be locked at 8.
yeah. I just think a lot of agents right now are just, oh, we got the answer, it's a buy down, it's a rate buy down, and a lot of clients, a lot of these first time home buyers, these poor kids, they're just going off of what you're telling them, you know, they're like the parents, and it's scary because in 3 years, you know, an 8%, well, hopefully they're making more money and life happens,
Right.
but it might not, so, you know, there is a huge responsibility we have as agents to make sure that they're understanding about this.
There's one thing when it comes to perspective of how we see business, how we see what we're buying. We have a lot of investors who are buying properties, and unless they're green, meaning they're making some type of return on investment, they're no good, okay? And the risk of teaching our guys, unless you're making a percentage, don't buy it. Guys, I was raised from a different perspective. I was raised from the very first house I bought, my dad told me, I'm like, Dad, this is crazy. We're gonna buy, the payment's $3,000. And back then, $3,000 was like 10 grand now. And he goes, it was $3,000. I goes, Dad, I'm only getting $2,200. And he goes, son, you're saying that if you could go every day to a person and give them 800 and they would trade you 2,200, you're not gonna take that deal? I've built everything I've done based on that strategy. And the concept is this, you'll do whatever it takes to make that 800, right? You'll do anything it takes to fill that difference. So no matter where our market goes, to get our foot in the door is not for free. To get the foot in the door, we gotta have plans. And that's where when you are giving someone advice, you wanna give them advice on the whole picture, right? Little Jayhawk over here, Junior. You know what, this kid, for him to afford his first home, you know how many roommates he had? He rents out every room in his house. And some people you don't know, huh? Well, you know now.
Some I would not prefer to
Live with. But guess what?
They pay my mortgage.
He owns a house. And everything that was dealt to him was, again, there were no promises in it. So what are the solutions? Not what are the problems. We all know the problems. To Stephen's point and to Brady's point, we know the problem. What solutions can we give them if those things happen? What's a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C? And some of those things too, with our next speaker coming up with Rentex, we're going to talk about also a piece of software you guys will all love. You guys are going to be able to use with your clientele, is how it breaks down those numbers as well. But guys, keep your mind open to it. Yes.
I also think it's like really interesting. I had this conversation with my dad, and he balked the first time I bought a townhome. You know, it was $297,000 at a 4.5% interest rate, and he was like, "That is so expensive." He's like, "I built my 4,200 square foot home for like $100,000." I'm like, "That was 20 years ago." Yeah. But I think it's all about how we approach talking about interest rates as well. If we say they suck, people think they suck. But as I chatted with my dad a couple days ago about them, because he's looking at investment properties, he was like, "This is a normal interest rate to me." He was like, "The last 3 years have really ruined the buyer pool because they think that's a good interest rate." He's like, "I was super happy when I got a 7% on my first house." He was like, "That was awesome at the time." And it's all about our perspective and how we approach the situation. It's not what people are used to, but when has the buyer market ever been used to a 3% interest rate? Ever.
So that's a conversation that I have with a lot of people is well, the flip side is 2%, we all saw what 2% did, and that's not where people want to be buying. I mean, paying $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000, sometimes even $100,000 above appraised value, like you can't compete in that market, and then you
It's
start
not a
seeing the
healthy
values.
market.
Right.
It's not a healthy market. Like, it's not sustainable. So like, this is what happens when you
Yep.
enter those like blips.
Exactly, exactly. And to keep in mind, I mean, it's funny, all the age groups here, when you're talking about what's the rates we're in, how to a lot of people they're normal. All the people are about 40 and older. You guys were showing your ages because all the heads were going like this with all you guys. Like, oh, we know that, we see it. And then we have people back here, Robert, who's like, oh my gosh. This guy was used to 16, 18%, and he laughs at the 8 and 9. So we are gonna let Rentix come up. I want to thank Steven for sharing, guys.
Thank you, guys.
He's going to be sharing a lot more. Again, as we go onto our cloud-based training system that is going to be rolling out, a lot of these trainings will be online for you guys to jump in whenever you guys want to. Okay, Sig Miller boys, these brothers.
Before
These,
we get started, I wanted to just comment on something that Steven said. When Brady called him and told him what rates were, and he said, "Yeah, I don't care. No, I don't know. I don't care." Keep your mind in that space, right? CNN is the catastrophe news, right? Anything you watch on the news is going to affect your ability to interact with your client. You have to have a loose knowledge. Yeah, interest rates are right around here. You don't need to know exactly what it is. You don't need to depress them. You don't, okay? Because that affects your mindset. So don't focus on it. Just ignore it. I mean, as much as you can.
Can I just say one more thing? Actually, when I talk to my clients and they say, I tell them like this is probably not normal interest rate. They're like, okay, is there a guarantee it's gonna go down? I tell them no, I don't give you guarantee, and I also don't give you guarantee that next summer is not gonna snow. But we know in the summer it's gonna get hot, as well as we know that this interest rate right now is not normal. But no matter what, even if the interest rate went up, it's still better than buying now. It's still better than renting, because if the interest rate goes up to like, let's say 16%, 15%, I am not buying a property and my payment will be $4,000 and I'm gonna rent it to you for $1,500. I'm gonna charge you $4,000 because I wanna cover my payment. That's why if you buy right now, it's still better than renting, because 100% will go towards that. And you're locked in, like Brady said, in the future if it goes up, you're locked in right now with the current interest rate. So this way you're making your payment is not like you're a renter with me and I'm gonna increase your rent continuously from $1,500 to $4,000. It's a great idea to buy right now, and if the interest rate goes down, great, refinance, and if it goes up, you're protected.
all right,
The other
good
thing
point.
I always ask if they're planning on selling within the next 5 years, because they're going to say no. So you might as well just buy in, because the market's always going like this. So if you're not
Right.
planning on selling, why not just buy in?
I always
Absolutely.
also have the conversation with them about the appreciation that, this isn't your forever home. You don't know what for a lot of first time home buyers, they don't know what their forever home looks like. It's their needs and their wants are gonna change so much in the next 3 to 5 years. Just get into something now, have your equity work for you, and then turn around and sell it or keep it as a rental, and now you've got more money to enter the market in with. So a lot of people, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people see that vision because there's no way that they can, with the zero down and stuff like that, it just doesn't make sense. So
We appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, Steven. Thank you so much. You out? You leaving?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.